The men manning these ships, they were the engine that drove overseas commerce in the 18th century. It couldn't happen without the men doing the work on board these ships, and it was such a tough life, but it had to be done. So many times when we think about 18th century sailors, we're thinking about military sailors, and sailors in the Navy. And while there were many sailors in the Navy, there were so many sailors in this civilian trade. They were the long-haul truckers of the 18th century. They made commerce on the seas and on the Great Lakes happen. Without them, nothing happens. The goods can't go anyplace. Sailors have such a hard life. And they're not the kind of people who are writing down things in journals, are they? The common sailor, he may not even be able to read or write. And even if he did, he doesn't have time during his work a day to make that kind of thing happen. So if we want to learn about sailors in the 18th century, we want to read about them, we have to read about descriptions of them by other people that do have the time to write this down. Nicholas Creswell takes a voyage in 1774, and he gives us a glimpse of what it was like, not only for a passenger, but sometimes what it was like for sailors in the 18th century. Here are just some excerpts from Creswell's writings. He's in 1774, Ship Molly, towards America, Saturday, April 9th, 1774. This morning got up early, got on board about 9 o'clock and set sail with a fair wind and a tide in our favor in the afternoon, and it was calm and pleasant. Sunday, April 10th, 1774. Last night, in attempting to get into my hammock, the hook at the foot gave way, and I had like to broke my bones with the fall, to no small diversion of my fellow passengers. The hammock is a hard piece of canvas suspended up to the roof of the cabin at each end with cords. Wednesday, April 13th, 1774, saw Ireland about 12 leagues distant. Fine, pleasant weather. I believe I've got over my sickness. The next day, Thursday, April 14th, 1774, fresh gales, a large rolling sea, broke our fore topgallant yard, took our departure from Holyhead. Find I am much deceived, very sick all day. Friday, April 15th, 1774, a fair wind and pleasant. Drank a quart of seawater, which operated both ways very plentifully and did me great service. Spoke a brig from Leghorn bound to Bristol. April 16th, 1774, fair wind and a pleasant weather. We passengers this evening drank our sweethearts in a large can of grog. It was custom at sea on Saturday nights. Very sick indeed. Sunday, April 17th, 1774. Sunday, we, having a parson on board, expected prayers. But instead of praying, he amused himself by reading a treatise on scurvy, while most of the sailors were reading in their common prayer books. I find these men not such an unprincipled set of beings as they are represented to be. It is true they swear most horribly in general, but when they pray, which I believe is very seldom, they do it heartily. Pleasant weather, a good wind, pretty free from sickness. A few days later, Wednesday, April 20th, 1774, pleasant and a fine wind, paid forfeit 1 bottle of rum for going aloft. Pretty well over my sickness, the sea begins to be agreeable. He, as a passenger, also had to do some duty on deck, and so he didn't want to go aloft. He had to pay a bottle of rum to the other sailors to do his duty. Saturday, April 23rd, 1774. Fine, pleasant breeze this morning, but this evening blows hard. I am sick. Sunday, April 24th, 1774. Hard gales from the eastward. The ship rolls and pitches, the worst I have yet experienced. Very often the waves break over the longboat. Broke our mizzen yard. Very sick. Wednesday, April 27th, 1774. Strong gales all day. My sickness continues so bad that I could almost wish myself ashore again. Friday, May 13th, 1774. A fair wind with hazy, cloudy weather at 6 in the evening. Hove the lead, struck ground at 25 fathoms of water. Sandy bottom, but see no land. The very next day, Ship Molly, Chesapeake Bay, Saturday, May 14th, 1774. At 10 o'clock this morning, we made land from the masthead. At 2 afternoon, abreast Cape Henry, from which we see Cape Charles, east-northeast, about 18 miles distant. Got a pilot on board. The land appears low and sandy, covered with pines. Obliged to let our anchor go in 6 fathoms of water at the tail of the Horseshoe. It is a custom with all passengers to pay a bottle of rum to the sailors as soon as they make land. We, agreeable to that custom, have paid ours and believe every man aboard, the captain, passengers, and first mate excepted, are drunk, swearing, and fighting like madmen. So there's Cresswell. He's giving us an idea of what the voyage is like from the passenger's point of view. They have all kinds of weather, very pleasant weather, very rough weather. The sailors, you don't hear about them complaining in this circumstance. They're doing duties. They're getting paid in what they think is their currency, which is rum in this case. They're not getting paid with currency. They're getting what they want most. They have a tremendously difficult job. You can imagine a job where it's 4 hours on, 4 hours off. You never get more than 4 hours worth of sleep, and you might have to come up on deck at any time, day or night, if the weather is tremendously bad and they need every person at the lines to repair or change sail. This job is so very difficult, and some days it's just the most beautiful day ever, and the next day you have the worst storm and you think you're going to die instantly. It's just hard to imagine today, as a normal person living your life, that anyone would live this life day in, day out for years. But it did wear them out early. I love his descriptions, though, where when they're working hard, they're working hard, and when they're playing hard, they're playing very hard. The men manning these ships, they were the engine that drove commerce, overseas commerce in the 18th century. Anything that was coming overseas, it couldn't happen without the men doing the work on board these ships, and it was such a tough life, but it had to be done. Special thanks to the great folks here on the Friends Goodwill. This is a tall ship out of South Haven, Michigan, the Michigan Maritime Museum. If you're ever in this southwestern Michigan area, make sure to look it up. This is a true treasure right here on the Great Lakes. If you're interested in what's happening with the life and the drink of sailors in the 18th century, make sure to check out this grog episode. It is great.